He didn't say Alonso wants a faster car. He said Alonso wants proof the direction is real. That's Adrian Newey, the man now running the technical side of Aston Martin. And in this video, you'll understand why that one sentence matters more than every horsepower rumor coming out of the Honda camp this week, why Mike Crack is treating a 30 horsepower engine step like a message instead of a spec sheet, and why the man reading all of it closest isn't a journalist. It's Fernando Alonso himself deciding his own future this summer. Keep that phrase in mind, tangible progress. It comes back before this video ends. Start with what Newey actually said, because the wording is doing more work than it looks like. He didn't describe an engineering target. He described a psychological one. Alonso wants to see clear, tangible progress, not promises, not optimism, something he can point to and measure. That's a very specific thing to say publicly about a driver whose contract runs out at the end of 2026, and it tells you Newey knows exactly what's being evaluated behind the scenes and by whom. If you want the stories the paddock doesn't put in the press release, subscribe right now and tell me in the comments which country you're watching from, because this next part reads differently depending on how long you followed Alonso's career. Now watch what's been delivered against that exact standard in the space of 1 month. In Hungary, Aston Martin brought 16 new parts to the chassis. New nose, new floor, a serious cut in weight. Alonso reached Q2 for the first time all season. The team's own estimate puts the pure pace gain from that package alone somewhere around a second and a half. 3 days after that race, on the 29th of July, Alonso's 45th birthday, the team ran a filming day and used it to shake down Honda's upgraded engine for the first time. 200 kilometers, no failures, real comparison data, and Shintaro Orihara, Honda's trackside general manager, the man who has the exact dyno number from Japan and isn't allowed to say it, described the step in his own words. We are aiming to get a reasonable big step rather than a small step. But there is no magic in Formula One. Read that next to Newey's sentence. One man describes an honest engineering step. The other describes exactly why an honest step is what Alonso needed to see. Ask the question the skeptics are asking, one at a time. Is this just Aston Martin talking up its own supplier? No, because Mike Crack said the opposite of a sales pitch about Zandvoort. I don't expect we will be straight away on it in FP1. It might even take us a couple of sessions to get the maximum out of it. That's not hype. That's a team boss refusing to oversell a fix in front of the exact driver he's trying to keep. Is the engine actually better? Or is this just chassis progress wearing an engine's name? The team's internal comparison lands at around 30 horsepower, the conservative end of everything floated publicly, worth roughly half a second a lap on the straights once it's translated into pace. Does Alonso actually believe it? He's the one who called the updated car a restart to the championship. In his own words, months into a season where he'd said the old engine vibrated so badly he couldn't run more than 25 laps without risking damage to his hands? That's not a driver being polite. That's a driver noticing the difference. And that difference didn't happen by accident. Go back to what Crack said when this partnership nearly broke, earlier in the year, when the engine was at its worst. It's easy to point the finger, but we sat together and we said, we're in this together. We need to work hard to get out of it together. Believe me, it was tough. At the time, that sentence sounded like damage control from a team boss trying to keep the room calm. Read it again now, next to Newey's comment about tangible progress, and it sounds like the opening line of the plan that just delivered. That's your vote for this one. Was he always this good, and it just took the car catching up to prove it? Or did Aston Martin finally build something worth being patient for? Like this video for the first one, comment for the second, and if you're not subscribed yet, this is exactly the kind of story you'll want to be here for the next time it happens. Turn the sentence into numbers, because tangible progress is meaningless without a scoreboard. Chassis. Up to 2 seconds across the Hungary package once fully optimized. Engine, roughly 30 horsepower, translating to around half a second on the straights. A new gearbox arriving alongside it, worth another 2 or 3 tenths through smoother shifts. Add it together and you get a car that could be close to a second faster overall once the setup window catches up to the hardware, which it hasn't yet by the team's own admission. And there's more scheduled. Further chassis upgrades confirmed for Zandvoort itself, then again at Monza and Baku, and a second engine token from the same FIA rule still sitting in reserve for next year. Newey didn't ask for one gesture. He described a driver who wants a pattern. What's arrived in the last month is the start of exactly that. Here's the honest counter-argument, because it deserves its full weight. Aston Martin sits 10th in the Constructors' Championship with a single point scored at Monaco after other cars retired ahead of them, 10 points behind Williams. Kimi Antonelli leads the Drivers' Championship for Mercedes. Lando Norris is winning races outright for McLaren. 30 horsepower and 2 seconds of downforce do not close that gap this year, and nobody serious inside the team is claiming they will. A skeptic can fairly say this is still a team fighting to leave the back of the grid, not one building a title contender, and that Alonso, at 45, doesn't have unlimited seasons left to wait for a pattern to become a result. That is a defensible position. It is also not the question Newey was answering. He wasn't promising Alonso a championship. He was describing what it takes to convince a driver the direction is real, and a measured engine step delivered through the exact rule designed to rescue a struggling manufacturer is a very specific kind of evidence. What comes right after this is the part that actually decides it, and I want you here for it. Subscribe now, because Zandvoort is where all of this either gets confirmed on track or gets exposed as talk, and I'm covering it the moment the engine runs in anger. Here's the verdict. Newey didn't reveal a technical secret. He revealed the scoreboard Alonso is actually using, and once you see it, everything else lines up behind it. The chassis gain, the honest engine number, Crack's refusal to oversell Zandvoort, Alonso's own description of a restart, none of those are separate stories. There are 4 entries on the same list Newey described in one sentence. What I can't tell you, and won't pretend to, is whether Alonso's list is already long enough. He hasn't signed anything, the exact dyno figure from Japan is still sealed, and a car that gained a 1.5 seconds at Hungary hasn't yet proven it can hold that gain on a circuit as demanding as Zandvoort. Nothing here settles that. But the pattern Newey described a month ago is now visibly forming in public, one delivery at a time. Zandvoort answers the next line on that list: new engine, competitive debut. More chassis parts, already confirmed. And somewhere in that garage, a decision that's been building since a filming day on a birthday in Hungary gets one step closer to made. So tell me, is Newey's list long enough yet? Or does Alonso need to see it hold up on a real race weekend first? Predict it in the comments. The like button is your vote. And when the next piece of this list lands, you'll want to be here for it. Until the next one.